So good day everyone, this is Cyril J. Bukaling, BSMLS3. So for today, I will be discussing the pituitary gland. So our pituitary gland is also called the hypophysis, and it is located in our brain, and it is a pea-sized endocrine gland at the base of our brain, behind the bridge of our nose, and directly below our hypothalamus. And additionally, it is an indent in the sphenoid bone called the sella turcica. And our pituitary gland is one of the 8 interrelated major endocrine glands, such as the pineal gland. Our pineal gland, the main function is to receive information about the state of light dark from the environment and convey this information to produce and secrete the hormone called the melatonin, or referred to as the sleep hormone. And the pituitary gland, which I discuss later, and the thyroid gland produces thyroid hormones, which are important for our metabolic health. The thymus gland are responsible for producing and maturing lymphocytes or our immune cells. And then our adrenal gland produces hormones that help regulate our metabolism and immune system, blood pressure, and response to stress and other essential functions. Our adrenal glands, which have two parts, the adrenal medulla and the adrenal cortex. And next, our pancreas, the ovaries, and the testes. And then now, the function of our pituitary gland. Our pituitary gland is also called, it is often referred to as the master gland. It is called the master gland because the function of our pituitary gland is it not only secretes its own hormones, but it tells the other glands to produce hormones, or in other ways, it controls the functions of many other hormones or many other glands. And then, hormones from our pituitary gland controls the function of many other glands in the body, such as the ovaries, the testes, the thyroid gland, and adrenal cortex, which is the adrenal cortex is the part of our adrenal gland and has its three zones, the zona fasciculata, zona reticularis, and zona glomerulosa. So our pituitary gland has two main sections, the anterior pituitary gland and the posterior pituitary gland. And connecting the hypothalamus and pituitary gland is a stalk of blood vessels and nerves. Through that stalk, the hypothalamus communicates the anterior lobe via hormones and the posterior through the nerve impulses. And now I will be discussing the first section of our pituitary gland, which is the anterior pituitary gland. So our anterior pituitary gland includes the ACTH, the TSH, the LH, the follicle stimulating hormone, the prolactin, the growth hormone, and the melanocyte stimulating hormone, or the MSH. So our ACTH, or the adrenocorticotropic hormone, it stimulates the production of cortisol, a stress hormone that maintains blood pressure and blood sugar levels. The target tissue of this hormone is the adrenal cortex, which is part of our adrenal gland and located the top of our kidney. So the next one is the TSH, which is the thyroid stimulating hormone. It stimulates the thyroid gland, which regulates metabolism, energy, and the nervous system, which is the target tissue here is the thyroid gland. Next one is the luteinizing hormone, or the LH. The target tissue is the ovary in females and the testes in males. The next one is follicle stimulating hormone, or our FSH. So our FSH, or follicle stimulating hormone, promotes sperm production and stimulates the ovaries to produce estrogen. So the target tissue is follicles and ovary in females and seminiferous tubules in males. So what is seminiferous tubules? So when we say seminiferous tubules, it is the site of spermatogenesis where germ cells develop in spermatozoa in close interaction with Sertoli cells. Our, semini, our seminiferous tubules function is to produce sperm, maintain sperm, and store the sperm. So that's the functions of our seminiferous tubules for the male. So the next one is our growth hormone, or the GH. Our growth hormone is helps maintain healthy muscles and bones and manage fat distribution. Also, it is considered a hyperglycemic agent because it allows the increase of number of glucose and to be part of our blood circulation. The next one is the prolactin. The target tissue is the ovary and mammary gland in females and testes in males, thus causes breast milk to be produced after childbirth. It also affects hormones that control the ovaries and testes, which can affect menstrual periods, sexual functions, and fertility. So the last um, part of anterior pituitary gland, the our melanocyte stimulating hormone, or the MSH. The target tissue is the melanocyte in the skin, which is the melanocyte increases melanin production in melanocyte to make skin darker in color, which are melanin produces by our melanocyte. So that's it, the parts of our anterior pituitary gland. So now I will be discussing the pituitary hormones that are secreted by the posterior pituitary gland. Includes our ADH and oxytocin. So our ADH, or antidiuretic hormone, is also known as vasopressin. It is a hormone that helps regulate water balance in the body by controlling the amount of water the kidney absorb while they are filtering waste out of the blood. And then our oxytocin, um, it helps the labor to progress, causes breast milk to flow, affects labor breastfeeding, behavior and social interaction, and the bonding between a mother and a child. And our oxytocin, it is also known as the love hormone. It is called the love hormone because the levels of oxytocin is increased during hugging and orgasm. So as you can see in the picture, it is the image of the hormones that belong in the anterior pituitary and the posterior pituitary. So for the review, the hormones that belong in the anterior pituitary is the growth hormone, or RGH, the ACTH, or adrenocorticotropic hormone, or TSH, or the thyroid stimulating hormone, the FSH and LH, the melanocyte stimulating hormone, and the prolactin. And then for the posterior pituitary, the the hormones are oxytocin and the ADH, or antidiuretic hormone. So for the pathophysiology of our pituitary gland, the hypopituitarism. So when we say hypopituitarism, it is a rare disorder in which our pituitary gland fails to produce one or more hormones or doesn't produce enough hormones. So, di ba, as what I have said a while ago, our pituitary gland is a kidney bean-sized gland situated at the base of our brain. It is part of our body's endocrine system, which consists of all glands that produce and regulate hormones. So, despite its small size, the pituitary gland creates and releases a number of hormones that act on nearly every part of our body. So the symptoms of hypopituitarism is depend on what hormones is deficient and may include short height, infertility, intolerance to cold, fatigue, and inability to produce breast milk. So, the hypopituitarism has a number of causes. In many cases, hypopituitarism is caused by a tumor of the pituitary gland. So when we see a tumor, it is swelling of tissues. So in addition to tumors, certain diseases or events that causes damage to the pituitary gland may also trigger hypopituitarism. So examples include head injuries, brain surgery, radiation treatment to the head or neck, lack of blood flow to the brain or pituitary gland, or what you call stroke, or bleeding, or the hemorrhage into the brain or the pituitary gland. And infections of the brain, such as meningitis or infections that can spread to the brain, such as tuberculosis or syphilis. And in some study or cases, hypopituitarism is caused by the genetic mutation or inherited. These mutations affect the pituitary gland's ability to produce one or more hormones, often starting at birth or in early childhood. So for the laboratory analysis and clinical diagnosis of hypopituitarism is that clinical manifestation of hypopituitarism are variables, often insidious in onset and dependent on the degree and severity of hormone deficiency. However, it is associated with increased mortality and morbidity. But in some cases, the the clinical diagnosis of hypopituitarism is made by measuring basal hormone levels in the morning fasting status or performing stimulation tests if necessary. So, the six anterior pituitary hormones, the GH, prolactin, the LH, FSH, and ACTH, as well as the target hormones, can be measured via sensitive and reliable immunoassay techniques. So, the other pituitary hormones except GH and ACTH deficiency can be diagnosed with basal hormone measurement. Um, Therefore, um, early diagnosis and prompt treatment is necessary for this pathophysiology. So, if you have hypopituitarism, you likely need to take medication for the rest of your life. This medication helps replace the missing hormones, which helps control your symptoms. So that's it for the pituitary gland, and I hope you have learned on what I have mentioned all about. And then for the to produce enough hormones in order to have a healthy lifestyle and to avoid some diseases in your body. Thank you and God bless.